Welcome to the Elissa Goodman Show. Every week, I have the honor of interviewing game changers in the wellness arena. And today, I have a master body worker. His name is Aaron Alexander. I can't wait for him to work on me. Welcome, Aaron.
Thanks so much for having me.
So excited to have you.
Yeah, I appreciate it. I love that introduction.
Yeah. It was quick and to the point because before we got on camera, we could have kept talking like a mile a minute for hours. It was really fascinating just jumping in with you. And I have a feeling that you are just one of those people that people automatically feel comfortable with.
I think it's a process of getting comfortable with yourself. You know?
That's a beautiful thing. I mean, you don't see that as often. When you meet somebody and you just connect and you start laughing hysterically.
Well, because everything is like, truly is essentially a big joke and a big game. It's like everything that we're doing is so immensely serious and so immensely valuable.
Right.
And also kind of just this silly, fun game at the same time. So if you can if you have kind of the filters to be able to flip in between that, I think it just means you're paying attention.
I think that's where it's at. It is totally where it's at because, I mean, life is so serious. Yeah. And I know that you see that seriousness in people's bodies, right? Yeah. In every way. So
yeah, there's actually interesting research around the way that we carry our bodies and the way that it affects the way that we think and the way that we feel. There's a specific thing that when you're in a hunched over position, which is the typical position that most people are in throughout the day.
Yeah.
You know, so our environment forms us into kind of this position where we're hunching over into phones, looking into screens, et cetera, et cetera. When you're in that position, science is showing that it actually allows you to access more depressed memories easier. And it's more challenging to access more uplifting, kind of jubilant, exciting, positive memories.
Yeah.
And the inverse happens when you go into this position. So all of these positions, if you are upright and aligned and stacked in gravity, it's literally sending indicators through your whole physiology that you are successful, that you are winning, that you are happy, that you are content, that you are well.
Wow.
When you go into this type position, there's nothing wrong with this position. It's just in excess. It's like one of the colors.
Right.
Yes, but as you go into that position, if you're in that for, as much as we are, it kind of sticks us in like more of a depressed state. And that's now is the number one leading cause of disability worldwide, is depression.
Right.
Very few people have the conversation around, maybe there could be a movement, a mechanical perspective on that as well. And
how to like realign their body and just also feel back in their body. People are so out of body, aren't they, these days? Yeah, like a lot of people, I feel as even myself, they're almost like afraid of their bodies. And you were saying that earlier. What's that all about? I don't know. I mean, it's something I think about a lot. I think I'd be curious your perspective on it as well. But I think it's something, it's like we think of our bodies, oftentimes it's almost like this machine, this complex, imagine you got this like $1 trillion machine from Tesla or something like that. And there's all sorts of bells and whistles and it's super, and you're like, whoa, crazy. I don't want to like mess it up. Yeah, because I would be afraid of it. You would be afraid of it. Exactly. I would be afraid it wouldn't drive. And if you look at nutritional advice, if you look at all the various different fads of fitness, and there's so much, we get so specific into all these different wormholes of trying to describe the human experience that it just becomes like, oh man, like it's just too much. Right. But there's really, really simple, fundamental, from a movement perspective, mechanical movements that you can do that really are like the foundation for moving safely. And the body is not to be afraid of. I mean, that is like where we reside. I mean, if we're afraid of it, then like it feels like everything could go wrong when we're not in it and like at peace and comfort with it. I mean, it feels like. But you're a way more valuable consumer if you feel that way. So if you not put like tinfoil hat on, but that's the truth of the matter is when you're being advertised at, we're trying to advertise at you in such a way to make you feel incomplete. So if you would come back to a point of realizing like, okay, what I really need is I need sun, and I really need relationships and community, and I really need to feel like I have purpose and value in the world. And I really need maybe organic food, you could say. I really need quality water. Like all those things, none of those things really have like strong affiliate codes. Right. It's really hard to like connect one of those. So
then you don't really see it on social media as much. But the reality, we try to fake it with this stuff that we're spending a lot of money on, all the different supplements and maybe just like maybe plastic surgeries and makeups and all these things to kind of like put onto the front that we're like, I'm well, I'm healthy.
I'm fine.
Yeah. But meanwhile, the actual behind the scenes, the circuitry, the way that works, you're either tapped into nature and you're healthy, or you're not tapped into nature and you're sick. It's like all the crap to be well in your body. It's like it's just there. Like go
and it's easy and
go to a park.
It doesn't cost anything, right? Mostly.
Yeah.
Now, how do you get people to tap in for yourself? I know there's probably many ways. It probably is individualized, right?
Super individualized.
Yeah.
So now, so I do like online programs and to do more speaking and workshops, and I'm doing a book right now. And so the focus is more being able to empower large groups of people as opposed to just one-on-one. One-on-one, obviously, can be super individualized, but something simple that everyone, in my opinion, needs to do if they're, if they're in their body, is spend more time on the ground. So you can even treat a couch like this as just a raised ground. So this.
I didn't realize that. I thought you sort of really had to be on the ground.
No,
or feet had to be in the dirt or the sand. Or the grass.
Yeah, like look at a kid. Like if you give a kid a chair, they'll just play on it.
Yeah.
Like they've literally, you said the word conditioned before we started, like they've literally been conditioned in order to sit on the chair and be still and kind of go into here and kind of just wait for the person to finish speaking and to be a good person. You're like, what are you doing? It's crazy.
Right.
And so kids, like they have pretty healthy nervous systems. Dogs have pretty healthy nervous systems. They're full on, and then, oh God, and then back on.
Yeah.
Like that's a healthy, vibrant nervous system. But we're taught to essentially be conditioned to just kind of sit still.
And are we shutting down our nervous system?
Yeah, absolutely.
Pretty much.
There's an interesting story of sea squirts. They have similar nervous systems as humans.
Yeah.
And so when they
sea squirt, what the heck?
Yeah, exactly.
What is a sea squirt?
Yeah. Well, it's like
Does
a
it
little
squirt?
sea creature. It kind of like goes through the ocean, and then so it starts off and it has a nervous system, central nervous system. It's like spinal cord, brain, the whole thing, kind of similar. Much smaller, and more sea squirty.
Yeah.
And then it's moving and it's swimming around, and then it finds a reef to stick itself onto, and when it sticks itself onto there, it stops moving. Moving is it's really a big part of being controlled by the brain. So the brain's a really expensive organ to function if you don't actually need to move. And so what the sea squirt does, it literally digests its own brain once it stops moving. I'm not suggesting that us sitting in chairs digest its own brain,
right?
But it does slow things down. If you look at like a brain scan of a person that's just kind of sitting still, it's like all the kind of centers just kind of like go blue. Versus a person that's moving,
that's active.
And that's it's starting to light up. There's a person that's dancing, then it's like, whoa, we're really firing synapses now.
Right. Absolutely.
But we just need more complex equations. If you don't have a complex equation, then your body stops adapting.
Right. So how do you? Tell me some of your tips on, like, speaking to large groups, so you're actually having to tell them what to do when they go home if they're not working with you one-on-one.
Yeah.
Is there like a few things that are in particular that are pretty profound?
Yes, my book's like begrudgingly broken down into 5 simple steps or 5 easy steps, because that's what publishers want to do.
Right. Not what you want to do, but yeah.
Well, I get it.
Yeah.
So it's broken down into like 5 chapters, well, it's 18 chapters total, but there is a section that's the 5 things that if y'all do this truly from a very genuine place, like it will absolutely change your life.
Okay.
Like they truly are fundamentals to moving well in your body,
right,
and your emotional self and all that, because it's all connected.
Right.
But there's a lot more to it than 5 easy steps.
Yeah.
So it feels a little bit like that.
So if you want to go deeper, you have all that stuff in there too.
Right.
Read the book.
Go deeper, read the book. If you don't, just look at the steps. That's fine.
Right.
But in that, so one of them is spending more time on the ground. So we already talked about that.
Yep.
Within that, you can get into various different ranges of motion with that. Just why the heck would we do that in the first place? It's not like a grounding thing per se. Maybe it could be, but it's because you're going through mobility, full range of motion of your hips and your ankles and your knees. And as you're going down to that squat position, you're literally pumping all those fluids that's necessary for your vitality through your whole system.
Right.
It's like your lymphatic tissue, the lymph, for it to move and circulate, it's not based off of a heartbeat. It's based off of your muscular
movement.
contraction.
Yeah.
So something as simple as just crossing your legs, getting down to the squat, and then having to get all the way up off the ground. It's is moving everything. And
wow.
then something
that
that's
seems easy.
It's pretty freaking easy. And so the number one reason that elderly folks go to assisted living is because they fall and they can't get up. And the only reason that is because they stop freaking getting down on the ground,
like you're saying,
back up.
Yeah.
But they
stop that movement.
It's a key foundation to your humanity.
Okay.
Like,
so I will start doing that.
Without a doubt, you
ongoing.
need to do that.
I'm not going to any assisted living. Yeah.
It's very important.
Yes.
There's 4 other steps. That was just the one.
And the other 4?
I mean, we don't need to talk about them all, but the other one's like, we talked about like hanging.
Yeah.
Something as simple
hanging
as
from a tree.
Hanging from anything.
Right.
So get a pull-up bar on Amazon for $30.
And hang over. You hang upside down?
No. I do.
Or
I have a yoga swing in my house too.
Okay.
Get one of those, but that's like next level.
Okay.
This is like super baseline, change your life very quickly. Is just have something to hang from each day. And, I recommend a minute and a half a day.
Okay.
And doing that, try that for like 15 days, and see how you feel. There's a book called Shoulder Pain, ? And it's all about just the value of hanging, literally changing the structure of your shoulder girdle, and then reducing shoulder pain down to 0 with like, in the instances within the book, it was like 95% of people.
Wow, that's a huge percentage.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
So if you're experiencing shoulder pain, it probably has a good part of that could have to do with the fact that you're chronically impinging yourself all day long because you're in this kind of hunched over like dinosaur position.
Right. What about that inversion, where you hook your feet in and you invert?
They're just expensive and big, and you got to get somebody on TaskRabbit to put it together. Just
That's
get like
get
a yoga swing.
Right.
It's like $60.
Okay.
It's this beautiful
So
flowing
easier.
white silk that you have in your room, as opposed to like this antiquated robot gizmo that you put in the corner. Nothing wrong with it. It's cool. It's fine.
Okay.
But if it were me, I would spend $60 on a flowing white silk thing that I can do more on, and spend $400 on a big, contraption that I do one thing.
Exactly.
I hope they're not listening.
And are you selling those yoga swings? Like that should have your name on it.
I know.
No?
That would be a good thing. There's a few things that it would be wise. I leave like quite a bit of money on the table with that, but that's okay.
Because I
As long as
haven't
people
heard
get
of.
it, that's what.
I haven't heard a lot of people talking about like that's what you should get.
Yeah, it's a no-brainer.
Yeah.
I mean, it
does seem like it.
So to be able to decompress the original thing was hanging with your hands, but the yoga swing, since that's just interesting, one, you can have sex in it too, which is fun.
Oh, I like that. Okay.
Wrap it up.
That seems a little tricky and hard. Two people can fit in it?
No, I don't think it works like that. I like how you sip your cup with that. That was a postural
I know,
thought.
like, ooh, got a little uncomfortable there.
So that's what we do.
We get uncomfortable.
Yeah. One of your guests has a random thing like that. You're like, shoulders come forward.
Exactly.
And we protect.
Yes. Yeah.
And it makes us feel more comfortable. And that's a valuable position to be in. So it's not like condemning going into this protected position is what it is. So if we were going to like fight, we'd probably like go into this type thing.
Exactly. Yeah.
And so when you do that, it's really good because it makes you feel safe.
Right.
So like working with clients doing, rolfing and body work and all that stuff. Sometimes what I'll do with them is I'll literally take them deeper into their pattern. So it's kind of like showing them their own shit to the point that eventually they're like, oh, I don't want to be there anymore.
Yeah.
And
they feel the pain of it.
And they also feel safe as well. Because if you take me into my pattern, then it's like, oh, that's my comfort zone. That's my pattern.
Right.
Like, oh, cool, yeah, have your pattern. Yeah, let's like really be in your pattern.
Right.
And then from there, you're like, okay, wow, he's not trying to pull me out of my pattern. Huh, interesting. Okay, I guess I feel safe with this guy or girl or whatever.
Right, right.
And then
that makes
eventually
sense.
your internal healing comes online. You're like, okay, cool, maybe I'll just let go of that stuff. It's like parenting. You're like parenting your body.
So you parent these clients of yours.
I mean, I've never said that before, but I mean, kind of.
Yes. No, I could.
For like an hour span.
Yeah, right.
You can parent in such a way that's too hard and too firm, and that will probably make the kid like backlash and say like, screw you.
Right.
Or you can be too soft, and then the kid doesn't
So
give a shit
like
about
it's
you.
not
and
enough.
kind of like,
Like,
no,
yeah.
sorry, like I don't.
He doesn't even
I don't
know his
respect
stuff.
you. We're not even connected.
Right.
So there's within a relationship, there's a perfect amount of pressure that you put to be able to synchronize and create really beautiful things.
So you kind of do a dance. You have to
Completely 100%.
Yeah.
That's
You
like
tap
all it is,
in and
dancing.
you dance with all the clients and figure out where their comfort zone is and then where you can take them each
That's
time, right?
Yeah.
What I find really fascinating about you is that, you don't just do this body work, but you really are a very spiritual being. And so what kind of stuff do you do to, spiritually for yourself? And do you do it with clients as well to get them really into would you say an altered universe, or is that?
I wouldn't say altered universe, but you could, that's fine. I like altered universe, but I think spiritual is a really interesting word because it's like it's typically when we say spiritual, it's like, okay, now let's talk about spiritual as though it's its own category. And if that's the case, then we're really never even like scratching the surface.
True.
And so I think that within that, it's like, what is spiritual? I'd say like, and it starts kind of like Eckhart Tolle, but like drinking this cup of water and enjoying the experience and actually noticing, the temperature of it, and noticing the texture of the cup, and the gratitude for being in this room right now and having food and having this relationship with you. And I think that's all spirituality.
I agree.
Is taking a moment and stepping back and saying like, God damn.
Well, are you teaching your clients this? Like, do you talk to them about that when you're doing body work, or like before and after, like that kind of stuff? Because that is beautiful.
Oh, thanks.
Really, honestly, I mean, like just the simpleness of that is so important.
Yeah.
People don't
Well,
understand how important that is.
Yeah, if you're disconnected from your body, it will beget more disconnection in your life.
Yeah.
So if you want to connect deeper to others, and this is kind of like how we started this, then the first path is to connect with yourself.
Right.
And so if you have limbs on your body or parts of your system that you've just shut off, not because you don't like it, because you don't know how to speak to it, because the world that you live in is such a way that like, oh, we just shut that whole range of motion, it just doesn't exist in your life. It has for the last 3 billion years of your existence.
Yeah.
But we don't do that anymore. And so it's like, okay, that's interesting. So that'll get turned off, and then you have a part of you that's just off, like the lights are out. So I think a really important thing is like going through and starting to really being just curious is the first thing of how do I turn the lights on in all the different parts of myself. So you could start with the physical self. But the physical self is just a bridge to everything else. It's like, the body's a bridge to the mind and the spirit or whatever. I don't know. It's hard for me to define spirit. I'm not really sure.
Yeah, I know. You're right. I mean, it sort of encompasses a lot of different, like you said, a lot of different things.
Yeah.
So
I think spirit's everywhere.
Everywhere, right? Like you said, the cup could be spirit,
Cup's
or
damn
right.
Spirit.
So wait, how long have you been doing this?
So bodywork specifically about 10 years, and then working with clients, it's been 15 years.
And then, how did you get it? Did you get into it because you were feeling out of touch with your body?
Yeah, kind of, sort of. So I started off, the way I describe it in the book is like a confused baby giraffe body, like crooked teeth and a bowl cut and like the whole 9 yards. It could be traumatic.
Right.
Yeah.
That's slightly traumatic, yeah.
It could be traumatic. And then there was like some more random things where like my kind of family home environment got kind of funny, and then which I think added more protection.
Yeah.
And so I'm kind of, upon like writing all this stuff out, realizing more how that I think was a really amazing, like crucial component to starting to be interested in how my physical situation is a representation of my mental situation. So if you go through something in your life where you feel like, oh wow, it's chaos and it's just like I can't keep control.
Right.
Typically, you'll find control somewhere else, and that might manifest itself as like excessive, just like pounding weights and protein smoothies.
Right.
As a means of building up the fortress.
Right.
So I did that
to protect yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then I taught other people essentially, because you're essentially as a teacher, you're just teaching people your own bullshit.
Yeah.
So it's like a lot of responsibility of like, oh wow, people are actually paying me real money and time and attention to help them with this thing. I really hope I'm not planting viruses in them.
Right.
And that's what we're planting whatever the opposite of viruses are, and oftentimes viruses, like whatever you are, is what you're planting in the world.
Right.
So the sooner you go and like trim your own damn weeds,
Yeah.
the sooner you stop
and get rid of that
jacking everybody
virus.
else up. Right.
And yeah, take a look at the virus, and you know,
Take a look at it.
if
Maybe
it's a
gain a
virus,
relationship with
right,
it. Maybe
right.
like, you know,
Exactly.
instead of it take you deeper into that pattern, and you know, the same thing with the bodywork stuff, like put them into that fetal position to feel really safe. Like maybe you don't need to wage war on the virus, because maybe in doing that you're waging war on yourself. You know, so sometimes it's like, oh, you know, coming just like slight filter change of like, oh, like why is that virus here? Like what's the lesson this virus has?
Yeah.
You know, and then some with that, it's like, oh wow, the virus is like talking to me. It wasn't a virus the whole time. Maybe it was just like my body saying something.
Absolutely. I mean, I love this stuff. I mean, it's fascinating because I know I've been through it all throughout for myself.
Yeah,
in
you
every
know this
way.
better than anybody.
I mean, I love the whole idea of, you know, just elevating yourself in your body. And I know our bodies are just so miraculous.
Yeah.
They can heal, but they can't heal unless you really go deep and you figure out, like, if there is a virus, or, you know, deal with trauma and all of that stuff. So, but we were talking, I just want to touch on a little bit, we were talking before, which was really fun, about, you know, this whole plant medicine and, you know, breath work, all this stuff that kind of gets you into a whole different place in your life.
Yeah.
What are you thinking? What are you loving that's happening right now with this movement of plant medicine?
Decriminalization of psilocybin in Colorado is pretty cool.
Yeah, true.
Yeah, that's a really big
That
deal.
was big.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's actually like really, like truly is a huge deal in the.
Do you think more people should be doing that if they're having issues?
So hard to
I mean,
say that.
that it should not be a should.
I know that in my own experience, even challenging experiences I've had with any form of like plant medicine, which is like whatever, choose your word. You know, you can call it like a psychedelic, or you call it plant medicine, or you can call it entheogen, or whatever makes you feel comfortable.
Yeah.
You know, some people hear plant medicine, you're like,
They're
okay,
like,
like off, not interested. You know, so whatever word feels good for you. All the challenging experiences that I've had, or fearful experiences that I've had, have only led to deeper understanding, you know, and deeper like inner wellness.
Right.
And I think that stress is only a stress based off of the interpretation of the machine receiving the stress. So all the time throughout the day, this experience right now could be incredibly stressful. Right? And so it could be, so based off of the way that my gizmo, my software receives this, is either nervous breakdown, convulsing on the floor, or like, this is great. You know?
And which is it?
Well, I feel all right, but you know, so with the psychedelic stuff, I think it's like, it can teach the machine, you know, on how to interpret things, which is what it's like really high value is.
Yeah.
And then I think it also depends on like which software we're talking about. I wouldn't just say everyone should do this. It would have to be like an individual software assessment.
Right. Of what's right for them. What's like, you were talking about like the screaming, or what were like, that was fascinating to me.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Sounds like a great
He's like,
person.
oh God, do I have to talk about that?
No, I don't mean to talk about anything. Yeah, I don't care. So I had recently in Sedona, Arizona, which is like known for all sorts of like new agey type stuff.
Right.
And just to be like truly a really impactful place on earth.
Right.
Like it's freaking beautiful.
Yes.
I don't know how you cut it.
The vibe and the energy there is like incredible.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know how to interpret what is the vibe and what is the energy. I know that when I get there, it feels like I like it.
Yeah, exactly.
You know? So whatever that means. But yeah, so we did a pretty decent size mushroom experience, like me and a group, and throughout that, like what I think that the value of psychedelics in general is it's a pattern interrupt. You know, so they call it a trip.
Right.
You know, so you could take a trip to, you know, Scandinavia, or a trip to, you know, anywhere, and it would alter your perception, and it would be a pattern interrupt from your normal life.
True.
So that's what, if you don't have, you know, the $1,500 to buy a ticket to wherever, then technically you can have a similar pattern interrupt and take a trip in your living room, or someplace in Malibu or whatever. Like your consciousness will kind of
go elsewhere.
Yeah, it'll be a similar thing.
Yeah.
But in that time, essentially, what I felt was me getting out of the way of myself and all the conditioning and the patterning of like Aaron Alexander, nice to meet you, you know, and just going into like, oh man, I'm just like cells and goo and, you know, just atoms and connection and whatever. I'm all that stuff. And what came through instead of words are typically very challenging because it's like the meaning is very strange, like, or that part of your brain shuts off or something. But yeah, I just went through this experience of feeling like I was essentially like an instrument being played, and all these different tones came out of my mouth, my voice, my vocal cords, and essentially what I felt is like the foundation of like sound healing. You know, so with sound healing, they're vibrating different frequencies based off of like densities in different parts of your body, cause them to reverberate and kind of.
Had you ever done that before? Had that ever happened?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh no.
In terms of the sound, and the body.
Take a choir class.
Yeah.
Like that's what you're doing. That's what makes you feel good. You know, play any music with your friends. Like it doesn't need to be this crazy psychedelic
trip.
Like go sing karaoke and you'll have a similar experience. You're reverberating yourself in those ways.
Right.
You know, but sometimes those deeper experiences just kind of give you information around like, oh, this is what's happening.
Yeah.
You know, and then you compound that with like research of the way that tonality affects your nervous system. You know, and then compound that with anecdotal evidence of, oh, the way that I feel when I do karaoke with my friends. And you're like, hot damn, there's something to this sound stuff.
Right. Yeah. It's profound. And, you know, there is something to really like the simple things that we were talking about, you know, just, you're right, karaoke, singing with your friends and the connection and the earth. And it's like, it doesn't have to be complicated in terms of
in fact,
what
if
you
it
do.
is complicated, you're probably doing it wrong.
Agreed.
You
That's
haven't
true.
figured out how to simplify it enough to the
it.
point that it would actually be like more intelligent.
Yeah.
You know?
So what you're doing is trying to simplify all of this for people out there, right?
Totally.
Yeah. Individually, trying to figure out what is their simple path.
I'm not.
To get.
So you can. So with the book, that's not so relevant for this because the pre-sale won't be for another like several months.
Yeah. What's the name of the book?
Align.
Okay.
Yeah. You know, but that's within that, it's giving people the foundations essentially it's like a user's manual for being in your body, you know, and then from there you can create your own individual experience.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So I ask all my guests if they had to sum up their mission in one word, what would yours be?
Man, I think maybe truth or connection, one of those two. Truth in the sense of just cutting away my own bullshit. You know, and anything that's not just like, kind of like the experience where like, well, sound just comes through. Anything that doesn't just come through, cut all that shit out. So I just stick with that.
I love it. Aaron.
Yeah.
Thank you.